My name is Jac Dunne. I'm the CEO of Dimply. We are an intelligent customer experience platform. We specialise in financial services. In essence, what we are is a platform that has an orchestration layer, a design and theming engine, so we can be authentically in the brand of all the organisations we work with. Most importantly, a fact engine, because we're servicing an industry that is very much controlled by regulation and compliance, and there's no room for error. So in essence, we need to ensure we conform to that. And then the experience builder itself, where we allow the product teams build their own experiences. And what they can do then is get to market much quicker. So they're authentically in brand of their organisation. They build them and they can actually deploy them themselves as well. So they can report those into existing infrastructure, or we can do it as a completely standalone web portal app, iOS or Android. From an AI perspective, and our AI agent, Holly looks end to end, in essence. She's a deterministic agent, and what that means is she looks at all of the rules, the calculations, the regulations, anything pertaining to the organisation we're working with, all of that end to end. So that's what we call deterministic. So she's applying facts. We're serving an industry that is completely fact-based. So it's not just natural conversation, it's taking the whole control aspect around the rules that are being applied. So that's the kind of the overarching of what Holly does. But I think most importantly, when we look at the industry, and in particular with AI within financial services and the regulations around everything to do with data, Holly conforms to all of that in a way that gives that auditability, that trust, but most importantly gives confidence to the organisations that we're working with because it's fact-based. Within financial services and the challenges they have comes back to my point earlier around data. So they have endless amount of data, and being able to surface that in a meaningful way is a challenge. Likewise, they have a very varied client base. You know, you go from institutional to retail, commercial, wealth, multiple, all with different demands, different needs, different requirements. So in terms of what Dimply does and how it helps these organisations, it can orchestrate, it sits at the front end. So they have lots of core technology, and they have lots of third-party providers as well that they're using. So what Dimply can do is orchestrate all of that into a single view. And in that single view, then it helps make that decision of, okay, what do we need to do, or what do they need to do for that client? Again, they've multiple clients. What we do is we specialise in personalisation. So it allows that experience to resonate at a human level. So instead of it being generic, you know, to a certain demographic or perhaps a certain region or a certain regulation, we can span across all. And there can be conditional rules put in there that basically ensures that, you know, if it's me that's experiencing, it relates purely to me. So it'll resonate all of my financial data and resonate the appropriate financial experience for me at that point. Dimply, when we look at the platform, in terms of its ability to be able to flex across any type of financial data or financial organisation, we've multiple aspects to it. We have an orchestration layer, we have a theming engine, which is all around the brand of the organisation we work with. We have the experience builder, where you actually build the experience, and then we have a reporting engine where you will deploy the actual experience. So how it flexes is we can build any type of customer experience. There is no restriction on the type of experience that the platform can build or actually design. So that's the flexing component to it. But what's really important is the starting point and the end point. So the starting point being the data to be able to generate the experience, and the end point being able to provide the experience to the end customer. Where the challenge for most organizations is that in between. It's they know their customer problem, they know the experience they need to build, they design them, they have them ready in Figmas or prototypes. The challenge comes with the engineering team because the inability to get there as quickly as they need to get there. So our no-code platform, what that allows is the product team can do all of that, but they can do it in days, weeks at max, instead of potentially what you're talking about is months or years if it goes into a backlog with engineering. So it's around speed to market, it's around customer demands changing, as we all know, on a kind of daily basis. So some of those experiences are actually out of date by the time they can get to market if they depend on the legacy approach of building the experiences themselves. Again, looking at a common need, looking at the difference and the variety from a financial services perspective and where Dimply comes in. The premise really in building Dimply was around that it could be universal, that it can work across multiple verticals. In that meaning that we have an orchestration layer. So in the orchestration layer is all the data. So we gather all the data from all the sources. Then we have a fact engine, and that's the really important part in terms of when I mentioned earlier about regulation and compliance and trust being really key, was to make sure that the experience that's been surfaced is one, auditable, and secondly, can be repeated. So if somebody needs to go back and ensure that the experience is or is questioned and it needs to be reviewed. But most importantly, what we saw was within organizations, you've got multiple different legal entities within some organizations, all providing different products. And what we wanted to do was make sure that organization or those legal entities could actually do a unify across all and provide that unified experience or unified service. So we built it in a way that it can service any financial service instrument. But most importantly, it was built that product teams could build these journeys themselves. So when I mentioned earlier about a no code, it was around allowing them the ability to get to market much quicker. So there's no reliance on an engineering team. They can actually do the whole way from design to build to deploy and embed into their existing infrastructure. So that from a kind of wider ecosystem of financial services is very important, because if you think most already have portals, websites and apps that are quite functioning quite well, we can embed into that existing infrastructure. So there's no tearing it down, it's embedding in, and within that embed takes you to what we would call the Dimply Hub, and that is everything pertaining to what they wish to be and the experiences that they want for their customers. So again, rather than siloing in pensions or insurance or maybe retail banking, we've built the platform that it can surface any experience across any financial institution. So the future for Holly over the next 3 to 5 years is really around her becoming a financial co-pilot. So right now she is a natural language and a deterministic controls AI agent. What I see going forward is that she really becomes embedded in the financial ecosystem, and she's supporting financial decision making. So orchestrating data in a way that actually informs recommending a product. So it's not about, this is the product you're looking at right now. It's actually recommending a product. So surfacing all of perhaps policy data, banking data, any forms of data pertaining to a consumer, and surfacing what's the right recommended product for them at a point in time. So really I would describe her as a financial co-pilot. The primary, I would say, universal problem across financial services is that inability to be able to orchestrate data. It's very siloed. Multiple different applications, legacy systems, third-party systems. So that's kind of the primary in terms of, having the source data to be able to generate what one would want to do from an experience perspective. And then on the opposite end of that spectrum is the customer. So being able to provide that unified experience that relates at that level. So where the problem in between all of that, and it sounds quite simple, but it's actually quite complex, is you've got product teams, you've got designers doing amazing jobs, but there's an inability from the engineering perspective or the architects who will actually be coding and building these to actually do that in a timely manner. So what Dimply does is it allows those product teams do all of that themselves, right the way through to actually building the journey, deploying it and embedding it into either existing infrastructure or standalone if it was something that it just needed to be a standalone application. So I guess in summary of all of that, what we do is we allow organizations, product teams, design, build within the platform, deploy and go to market in days rather than what would be months or potentially years for some organizations.